chapter is to be read secondly to the wife by an ordained divine minister of the Morse American government during all marriage obligation ceremonies. The supreme laws of the prophet are now being enforced throughout our land. I had one, give ear, fair daughter of love, to the instructions of prudence, and let the precepts of truth sink deep in thy heart. So shall the charm of thy mind add luster to the elegance of thy form, and thy beauty, like the rose it resembleth, shall retain its sweetness when its bloom is withered. Ayah 2. In the spring of thy youth, in the morning of thy days, when the eyes of men gaze on thee with delight, and nature whispereth in thine ear the meaning of their looks. Ah, hear with caution their seducing words. Guard well thy heart, nor listen to their soft persuasions. Remember, thou art man's reasonable companion, not the slave of his passion. The end of thy being is not merely to gratify his loose desire, but to assist him in the toils of life, to soothe his heart with thy tenderness and recompense his care with soft endearments. Ayat 4. Who is she that winneth the heart of man, that subdueth him to love, and reigneth in his breast? Ayat 5. Lo, yonder she walketh in maiden sweetness, with innocence in her mind, and modesty in her cheek. Ayat 6. Her hand seeketh employment, her foot delighteth not in gadding abroad. Ayat 7. She is clothed with neatness. She is fed with temperance. Humility and meekness are as a crown of glory circling her head. Ayat 8. On her tongue dwelleth music. The sweetness of honey floweth from her lips. Decency is in all her words. In her answers are mildness and truth. Ayat 9. Submission and obedience are the lessons of her life, and peace and happiness are her reward. Ayat 10. Before her steps walketh prudence, and virtue attendeth at her right hand. Ayat 11. Her eye speaketh softness and love, but discretion with a scepter sitteth on her brow. Ayat 12. The tongue of the licentious is dumb in her presence. The awe of her virtue keepeth him silent. Ayat 13. When scandal is busy, and the fame of her neighbors is tossed from tongue to tongue, if charity and good nature open not her mouth, the finger of silence rests on her lip. Ayat 14. Her breast is the mansion of goodness, and therefore he suspected no evil of others. Ayat 15. Happy were the man that should make her his wife. Happy the child that should call her mother. Ayat 16. She presided in the house, and there is peace. She commanded with judgment, and is obeyed. Ayat 17. She arises in the morning. She considers her affairs, and appointed to everyone their proper business. Ayat 18. The care of her family is her whole delight. To that alone she applieth her study, and elegance with frugality is seen in her mansion. Ayat 19. The prudence of her management is an honor in her husband. He heareth her praise with a secret delight. Ayat 20. He informeth the minds of her children with wisdom. She fashioneth their manners from the examples of her own goodness. Ayat 21. The words of her mouth are the law of their youth. The motion of her eye commanded their obedience. Ayat 22. He speaketh, and the servants fly. He pointed, and the thing is done. For the law of love is in their hearts, and her kindness added wings to their feet. Ayat 23. In prosperity, he is not puffed up. In adversity, he healeth the wounds of fortune with patience. Ayat 24. The troubles of her husband are alleviated by her counsels and sweetened by her endearments. He put his heart in her bosom and received the comfort. Ayat 25. Happy is the man that has made her his wife. Happy is the child that calleth her mother. Islam. And I'm Dr. Marvin Edwards Spade, Consul General of the Texas Territory. Today's date is January 31st, 2026. We give honors to our National Assistant Grand Sheikh of Moorish America, Dr. Aku Eru Jaudi Bey, for the opening of our meeting according to law, and honors to Dr. Marvin Edwards Bey for the reading of the chapter of the week, chapter 45, and for taking registrations. Our host for tonight's Moorish Prospectus class is our National Grand Sheikh of Moorish America, Dr. Sheriwa Metiel Mohed Sepesual. This topic of tonight's class is happy is the happy is the man that calleth her wife. Happy is the child that calleth her mother. And the National Grand Sheikh will be referencing chapter 25 of our Holy Quran. And at this time, we will call to the floor our host, our National Grand Sheikh of Moorish America. Are you there, God man?
Unmuted. Islam, can you hear me, brother?
Oh, Islam, yes, sir. Gratitude, you have the floor.
Gratitude, praise be to Allah. Islamism without the schism. Islam, Moorish America. Want to rise upon the seven within the unbroken circle of justice, mercy, love, and right, and give all praises to the great God Allah, Father God Allah, and honors to his holy prophet, honors to our holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, Al-Hajj Sharif Abdul Ali, that is. We give honors to our Moorish kin once again, here, there, and everywhere, and therefore honors to all of you who are continuously honoring yourselves by being yourselves. We give honors to our Grand National Seal. We give honors to our Grand National Emblem, National Flag, Divine Constitution, and bylaws, and honors to all of you who are indeed a living manifestation and personification of everything, and I do mean everything, that our holy prophet brought to exhume us as a nation. I want to welcome you to another Moorish Perspectives, as I am your host instructor, Dr. Shahid Imani Mohadi Shabazel, and my ancient committee and high name being the same as Dr. Shedu Wamente Elmo Hedge Shepsuel. And you know that we have a most powerful measure to bring forth from our Father's treasures, Moorish kin. Might has died a contradiction. Allah is definitely leading on and victory is sure. And hopefully our family have their paper and their pen on handy and they are prepared to take notes as we go into this special demonstration. You know, Allah is definitely leading on and victory is sure. And we know that our family will be able to draw some powerful degrees out of this demonstration if one take heed. Yeah, mess around and hit the wrong button then. So yeah, we know our family definitely, you know, will be able to receive some grand drawings in relation to dealing with our subject matter. You know, the title that we have on the manifest is in relation to dealing with a grand ayat. You know, ayat 15 actually. Happy were the man that should make her his wife, and happy the child that should call her mother. You know, and this ayat is similar to the last ayat, you know, as well. You know, this is a grand degree of unfoldment. So we would get into what is it that brings about the happiness in the man. Or we can say Moorish American national, master of Allah's nature, master able noble, whichever one you want to choose in the acronymic realm. You know, happy were they that they should make her his wife. Because if one has a companion that one can call a wife, then that one should surely be a friend. And happy is the child that should call her mother. That's a powerful degree in and of itself. You know, we can take this to a grand degree of unfoldment as it relates to the husbandman. And it relates to the degree of honor thy mother and thy father, that thy days upon the land will be long for one. You know, in one aspect, when we get into the highest vibration, you know, of the goddess, she is often known as the first teacher. We know this to be the truth. You know, the goddess is also in her higher self an expression of Isha, as you hear us talking about all the time, just as the God man is the highest expression of Ish, meaning that we are more God than we are mere men, brothers, and our sisters are mere women. You know, so they are more than just a ball of flesh. They are your worthy companion, most definitely. They are not meant just to satisfy your loose desires. We know that mother and father, as it relates to dealing with honor, along the lines of dealing with what we call unfoldment into supreme law, you know, also represents your nationality and divine creed. You see? So just as we say happy were the man, you know, that he should make her his wife, dealing with the God woman, he must first find his wife in the divine creed. He must be married or come into holy matrimony or in a matrimonial hajj of divine union with his creed. See, when we get to talking like this, I know sometimes our people begin to think, you know, how can one do that? You know, if one is thinking on the corner level anyway, how can one, you know, come in a state of love and marriage? Man, you talking crazy. But if you don't first come into holy matrimony with your divine creed, which is your symbolic mother, then how can you honor your father? You know, which is dealing with your national descent nature. It is The Father, indeed, that plants the seed within the soil that one may grow apace. But it is through your divine mother that you may be able to live according to the laws of that divinity. In fact, if we want to get into the scientific aspects of these things, we know that it is the what we call the mitochondria, or people call it mitochondria, that is the powerhouse of all living cells. This is where your energy source derives from. And this is why we use the term mitochondria, so to speak. Brings about that balance, so to speak, from a divine aspect as it relates to the self. A lot of people don't even know we talk about the uniting of divinity and matter, since we're talking about divine creed. Divinity, we know, connects us to the Creator. But if there's a line of divinity, then this is symbolic to, a divine umbilical cord. How can we say this? Because the same way that the line unites divinity and matter, it is the same way that that spiritual cord is connected to the divine mother, your divine creed. In fact, look up the word matter, and you will find that the word matter goes back to the word mater, which actually means mother. Look it up. You see? So when we go into that special expression, automatically when we speak of the line that unites divinity and matter, this is the spiritual cord between your God and your mother. Everybody talks about the love of the mother's love. There's no love like the mother's love. Ain't no love like mama love. You see? So when we go into the connection as it relates to this divinity, it can only be so if the mother herself is connected to the great God or the Creator. And then she can extend the blessings that she have received through the lessons, in most cases from the God man, in order to, make preparations, to exhume the nation. Because man can't demonstrate this by itself, and neither can the God woman demonstrate it by herself. They need each other. So man himself becomes the extension as the husbandman, and the cord of love, that golden cord of love between the two, is that same cord that is extended to the child. It is that most trustworthy handhold that never breaks. In all actuality, family. So this is a powerful measure when we understand this. We're going to get into this in a minute too. We're going to get into this in a minute. We're going to touch more on that cord. We just want our family to know where we coming from when we go into these special drawings. Because we like to go, further into, the deepness of a measure so that our family can see beyond the surface level. Because we already know what it means, when we talk about a child and the mother. But on a greater level of understanding, sometimes our people need a little more aid and assistance in these matters, and then they get a better revelation as it refers to this information that we are going over. We want to make sure that our people have the most proficient expression beyond that, which is dealing with the common mind. Because our people, they get, let's just say the mind gets bored when they feel like they got something that's too basic for them. And this is why you have to stir up the ethers, to get one to think it. Because on other measures, the ego make them say, I already know this. On to the next thing. That's what makes it so hard for most of our people to learn. Unfortunately. So we just say gratitude with a divine attitude, and that's what we hear. That's what we here for. To get our people to think it. We're going to stir up the ethers every chance we get. Yeah, we're going to stir up the ethers every chance we get. So we already know that these measures deal with a certain bond of affection, and that comes from the great God Allah in and of itself as well. The bond of affection goes beyond the plane of things made manifest. This bond of affection should extend from the God man between them two and the God woman, between the two of them, and then it should extend again to the seed. And that way the law is on the manifest. That way it is natural for one to honor their mother and their father, that their days may be long upon the land. That's a real statement, family. If you don't honor your nationality and divine creed, will you not be cut off from the land? So we are being taught these things as it is above, so below, simultaneously. As it is within, so it is without. We are being taught these things so that we may know. I want to give you the definition of lying since I've been talking about that. And this is actually coming from the Dictionary of Symbols. And it states lying. It says, see also plumb line. It says, through its everyday use, the line has come generally to be a symbol, first of a straight layout and then of an intellectual and moral rectitude. Now, we understand this right here as it relates to our 5-pointed open green star. It's a line. Even though it moves at various different angles as we draw it and we trace it out, it's still a line. And it goes on and it says, ritual. Leakey teaches, it says, keeps the state upon its course. The cabinet makers, the blackened line distinguishes between the straight and the crooked. As the guideline toward its rectitude, it also symbolizes the prop, method, master, and path in any striving towards spiritual realization. Now, they also mention plumb line now. Now, when we talk about a master and a path and striving towards spiritual realization, it begins to make more sense. If the God man is striving for spiritual realization and the God woman is striving for spiritual realization, and they give birth to a seed coming up under that type of measure, then the seed will also be spiritually inclined. This is what we were talking about, that most trustworthy handhold that never breaks. It says, thus in the Taoist secret, some people say Taoist, the Taoist secret of the golden flower, this kind of methodological treatment, methodological element should be used at the start of such experience, but gradually abandoned as it is performed its task. Remind you of the umbilical cord, right? Though the cord is cut between the mother and the child, there's still a connection to the child. A mother still can recognize if her child is in need. A mother still can recognize if her child, has some particular issues that need to be worked out. Mama, no, you can't hide it from her. She gonna say, boy, what's wrong with you? Or gal, what's wrong with you, as they say down here in the South. You can't hide it from them. But it says that is the way a mason hangs up his plumb line. As soon as he hung it up, it guides his work by it without continually bothering himself to look at the plumb line. And they're talking about operative mason. They ain't talking about, Western Freemason. They talking about one that's actually working with the line. We know that we work, with our particular line as we unite divinity and matter. It deals with the unity of Allah and man. So happy is the man that should call her wife after they come in the union. Happy is the child that should call her mother as a result of that union. You see? In fact, let's go into it now. Speaking of the mother, in the same book, the Dictionary of Symbols, it says mother. Symbolism of the mother is related to that of the earth. We often hear people talk about Mother Earth, right? That's my old earth. I love to put that H on the end of earth in the front and say heart. And to go into the aspects of dealing with ears, and we can go into many different measures with it. Powerful demonstration. But the symbolism of the mother is related to that of the earth and the sea. So this is powerful too. I know we have a measure where it states Islam is a vast ocean of knowledge. So again, that takes us back to our divine creed. That also goes to the fact of the breasts of one mother have given you suck. The mother's wit, the mother's wisdom, that divine creed. It says in the sense that all three are wombs and wells of life, speaking of the earth and the sea. It goes into in the mother herself. They represent wells of life. It says earth and sea are themselves symbols of the mother's body. All the great mother goddesses were fertility goddesses. Gia, Re, Hera, Demeter, and among the Greeks, they use the term Isis, we know, which is Auset, and Auset means throne. Isis means beloved. It says among the ancient Egyptians and the Hellenistic cults, Ishtar, among the Assyrians and Babylonians, and Astarte among the Phoenicians. This is why they come up into these little secret societies, and they go to talk about the Eastern Star, the fast among 10,000 altogether lovely. When you see that fatal demonstration around the star, the acronym, these really represent the 5 biblical mothers, and Ruth was said to be one of them. Ruth, if you put a T on the front of it, become the truth. But, Ruth is the one who made it possible that Yehoshua will come to the manifest due to her union with Boaz. Had it not been for the union of those two, this would have not been the birthway of Yehoshua, so to speak. So anyway, it speaks of Astarte among the Phoenicians and Kali among the Hindus. The same ambivalence, existing in the sea and the earth. Symbolism recurs in the symbol of the mother. Life and death, we are told, are interdependent. To be born is to emerge from the mother's womb. To die is to return to the earth. So you leave the womb of your physical mother and you return to the womb of your physical mother of a different degree, which is the earth. Mothers are anchors of shelter, warmth, love, and nourishment. Happy is the child that can find these things in their mother. If you can find the anchor of shelter, if you can find the warmth of love and nourishment, if you got a Moorish mother, then you got all that and then some. On the other hand, they may run the risk of suppressing their children by limiting their horizons and of stifling them by exercising the office of nurse, maid, and governess to excess. Meaning that if she is too much in her nurturing, it could actually be a bad thing because she enables them to be dependent and not have an independent state of mind. She who gave life devours what should procreate. The giver entraps and castrates. That can happen a lot of times. I know y'all done seen it before, especially among our people. How many times we have seen where there was an unexperienced mother who has stifled or stunted the growth of her child because she didn't allow that child to grow into a child. You see? And more than likely, the reason that she would demonstrate in this particular way is because that's the way that she was reared up or raised up. See, these are habits that have been taught, when it comes to dealing with our people. And they pass these habits down and they become a tradition. Traditional to the extent to where sometimes our people in their own mind begin to view this tradition as something sacred. And because my mother taught it to me this way, or my mother demonstrated this way, then I should do the same. Even though it may be, something that is not conducive to one's growth. This is why you have grown women and they get into a relationship with a man and you have the mother in control of the relationship. You see? Whereas it was the other way around, more than likely the mother, wouldn't want to be controlled by her mother in a relationship. You see, and it can go the other way too. A father, based upon what he has come through, his experience and what he's been through, he may try to, have some direction over his son. And all of this is being demonstrated under the pretense that, I'm only demonstrating this is because I love you. I want the best for you. You see? But every situation is unique. And just because a father went through a thing don't mean that the son would go through the same thing. Yes, when one sees these things, he must have wisdom to be able to direct his seed aright, but at the same token, not be too gung-ho to feel, that this is the end all be all because this is what the father had to experience, or even a mother. A lot of time we pass trauma down to our seeds based upon this thought pattern. Having them already expecting that they are going into a relationship to fail. So this actually makes it impossible for a union to be sustained in such an environment where one is already looking for failure before they look for success. You see? So let us go on with these definitions. It says, dealing with mother, Christianity mystically transposes the mother into the church. The Mother Mary degree, right? Conceived as a community from which Christians can draw nourishment in the life of grace, but from which they may also suffer intolerable spiritual despotism. such as the human capacity to corrupt. It says, on the other hand, the divine mother symbolizes the most perfect sublimation of instinct and the most profound harmony of love. In Christian tradition, Our Lady is the mother of God, conceiving Jesus through the Holy Spirit. In the dogma of the Catholic Church, she expresses a historical reality and not a symbol. The event is no less significant on two counts, namely, that virginity does not inhibit a very real maternity, that God can impregnate one of his creatures independently of the laws of nature. This dogma emphasizes with equal force that Christ is directly rooted in the human nature of his mother and in the divine nature of his Father. Nothing can better express the Word made flesh than the unity of the person in two natures. Divine Mother, Divine Father, you can't help but come out but be divine. In our Moorish Holy Quran, we are told that the triune Allah is expressed as wisdom, will, and love. But also we know the will represent the line between the will and the love, the will to love. To love by exercising one's will, so to speak. But there's another measure that we often overlook when it speaks of the triune Allah, and it speaks of the Father, the Mother, and the Son. That is a grand expression of the line uniting divinity and matter. That would be more like your triangle. You know, the top point being God, the bottom being the God man and God woman in union, and they birthed the child. But these are called triune Allah. So in order for Allah, you know, to truly be present as a blessing in a family, there has to be a proper union between the family. Yeah, how many of our people didn't know that? That in our Moorish Holy Quran, the triune Allah, and this ain't dealing with no Father, Son, and Holy Spirit degree, you know, though one may view it that way, this is dealing with simply the union, a good union between the father, mother, and the seed, son or daughter. When you have a perfect union in that, God is present in that union. The union is not just for the man and the woman. The health and the wealth within that unity is for the child. So let us go on. It says, if we consider her son divine nature, clearly she never conceived him. Yet, if we consider the person of nature, person of Christ, as an individual, she is really his mother, since it was she who gave him his human nature. Hence her name, Theotokos, Mother of God. And so fiercely debated in the councils of primitive church, expressions of motherhood in its perfection. Now, it's saying, well, if one is really born of the father and that's it, then really he don't belong to the mother, or the child don't belong to the mother. But if one is looking at it on the manifest, then yeah, this is the seed of the mother. But yet then they use the term mother of God. Now we know the great God Allah don't have a mother, but we know that it has been written in the scripture that we are gods. So if the mother has a godly like nature, and the breasts of one mother have given a family suck with children coming up, then she represents the mother of a God that she's given birth to. If we look at it from that degree. And this is why they get it so confused when it comes to our brother Yehoshua, you know, and begin to think that he is the supreme being over all when they use the term and refer to him as a God man. Just as we refer to our goddesses as a God woman, the queens. You see, both being the spawn, are both deriving in essence from the creator. So the way it is in more science, just speaking straight to you, in all spiritual maturity, Allah being the husbandman ensures that, there's a God man or God woman that's coming out of that union. And then when we go into the mother virtues and the harmonies of life that breeds justice, mercy, love, and right, it's the same degree. And this is why we say the true mother and father, in our, ancestry represents Ish and Isha. Make no mistake about it. Spirit man and spirit woman. That is the true line of the divinity that we're referring to. The nature of being one with your God through deific will. And therefore, one would not will contrary to their true nature. Oh, this is a powerful demonstration, family. We ain't just scratching the surface level over here. We digging deep. Islam. So let's go on with this definition. It says this manifestation of divine motherhood has nothing in common with the divine mother of Hindu theology, and its difference stresses the division between a history-based theology founded upon what is regarded as an event which took place, and a symbolic theology based upon what is regarded as a symbol. For the one, the historical fact that the mother of God exists expresses the spiritual reality of the incarnation. For the other, the absolute symbol of divine mother translates the spiritual reality of the female principle. Notions can be absolute symbols. And in India, the notion of divine mother is a synthesis of mythology, theology, philosophy, and metaphysics. That's 4 measures of dealing with the quadrants there. What is the mythological symbol of the mother, the theological symbol of the mother, the philosophical symbol of the mother, and the metaphysical symbol of the mother? These 4 angles of vision are represented by symbols. For example, as that of Kali. Now in Indian iconography, Kali is depicted as a hideously ugly woman, blood dripping from a long pendulous tongue, dancing upon a corpse. How then can she symbolize the divine mother? Swami Swarananda, explains that in this symbol of terror, we do not worship either violence or destruction, but in a vision of single modality, we comprehend the 3 impulses which together form creation, stabilization, and destruction. Generator, operator, destroyer. A mother has the ability to create. She has the ability to stabilize and bring about stability. And she also has the ability to destroy. That's what it's saying here. These are the 3 aspects of a single experience of life. So the divine mother, in the womb of the divine mother, has to do with reference to life itself, basically. So it says the divine mother is the life force made manifest. And this force is the spiritual principle displayed in a female shape. Other aspects may be seen as symbols other than Kali, Durga, Lakshmi, Sarasvati, Ganesha, for example. All assume the cosmocentric attitude of mind, tended to include with its a range of vision, macrocosm and microcosm, atom and the globe. The divine mother is like a continuum which unites and underpins the universe, prakriti, and Maya, the oneness of all that is manifest from a simple outward shape to pure illusion. She is consciousness of manifestation of Shiva's self-manifest in countless outward shapes, of those waves of energizing power, which are beings and are matter raining down in fleeting light and flashes. She is the consciousness of the wholeness made manifest, and liturgies invoke her in such terms as Divine Mother, I worship you under the shape of creative energy. I fall before you. Man, this thing go on and on dealing with this mother. It goes very far, in extending the definition. We can get into the cycles of creation. All of these represent different aspects of the womb, of, birth, and one's being birthed through the mother. The mother was a station, a real sacred role. When we go into the teachings of ancient Kemet, Sumeria, anywhere, where we deal with the family structure. When we get into the goddess Allset, she had various different aspects that represented her character, different attributes. Ma'at as a mother. We were talking about the Ma'atic Khandria earlier. Who was Ma'at? Ma'at was the personification of truth, justice, harmony. So that's why we talk about the mother of virtues, justice, mercy, love, and right. We think about Ma'at, the Ma'atic mother. So Ma'at being a similar personification of truth, justice, harmony, and responsible for regulating, in the Kemetic cosmology, the stars, the seasons, and the actions of both humans and God. That's a lot of responsibility for a woman to govern. All the sisters got to govern now is, being in the kitchen here and there, doing things around the house that, will keep the house up. Imagine having to govern the seasons and the stars, and actions of the humans and the gods. For our sisters that like to be in control, do you think you can handle that? If one was given that type of role, it also, knowing this, we know that the maintenance of this divine order was actually essential for the survival of the ancient Egyptian state and society. So the woman knew ma'atically from the mother standpoint, demonstrating, being in the control of regulation of the stars, the seasons, the actions, and so forth and so on. A lot of this has to do with birth, death, and rebirth. Truth be told, our mothers had a control over that by what she taught her child. Whether the child would be a faithful servant of the community or a tumor on the state of the nation. So Ma'at became to be one that was Kemetically revered as a central figure in the pantheon. To live by the guidance and laws of Ma'at was to act in accordance with the strict code of ethics, as opposed to the chaos that ring outside of the borders of Kemet. Let's think about this. What the child taught the mother, that divine creed being the source of that, gave that child something of guidance so that that child would be safe, when they moved out the land, because we know that one is unruly based upon not being taught the proper etiquette or manners. Then ones will be dealt with accordingly by those who are strangers. Ma'at was also described as a daughter of Ra. We have to understand that Ma'at as a neter, a netert, so to speak, these characteristics and principles that she came to exemplify, this was what she taught, and this is why Ma'at really became the mother of ancient Kemet. This is where Ma'at begins to share the throne of Allset. And they begin to merge as it relates to the golden cord of love. Ma'at was portrayed as a woman with an ostrich feather on her head. or in a headdress. Or sometime the feather alone was a symbol of Ma'at. So now you understand why the prophet had in his headdress the feather. You know, that feather represented everything that the mother, Ma'at, represents. That was the symbolism of that. Truth and right. The harmonies that deal with the mother of virtues, the harmonies of life, justice, mercy, love, and right. That's what he came to exemplify. The divine creed of his divine mother, the breast of that mother who had given him suck. That's the real symbolism as it relates to the feather. And this was passed down, you know, from Kemet to the Libiu, or the Libu, which they call them the Libyans, you know, because that comes through the ancient Moorish ancestry. That's the line of the Mahri. And it was the Libyans that was actually the last rulers and the longest rulers, just like the Moors became the longest rulers of the empire that they were in. You see, it also represented the feather weighing in the heart of the ceremony. The heart better not weigh more than that feather. I don't care how much heavy you think a heart should be than a feather. In the Ma'atic realm, when it deals with the Ma'atic law, when you get into that Amduat, and you know your heart is weighed in the balance, you better not, you know, that feather better outweigh the heart, because the feather represents divinity and spirit should always outweigh, you know, the heart. If the heart is heavy, you know, with a lot of negativity, the heart is heavy, you know, with a whole lot of baggage, so to speak, and it outweighs, you know, the feather, then we already know what the outcome of that is as it relates to, you know, the Ba'ad Nikah. But the heart is weighed in the balance against, you know, each other. This is a Ma'atic measure, which is symbolic to the feather. You know, either one is in balance or one is out of balance. Set that has been known as Isis. You know, you often hear of them speaking of the rights of Sa, the rights of Set, the right of Heru. You know, each and every one of these, the God man had those who had coats of veneration that represented them. The God man Sa did, you know, and Set most definitely did. And hers actually spread it far beyond ancient Kemet. You know, being adopted even under the Hellenistic traditions of the Roman world and the so-called Greeks, you know, in the post-Pharaonic times. You know, Sa, you know, was the wife of, Set was the wife of Set. Set was the wife of Sa, pardon self. You know, and the mother of Heru. You know, she became identified just like Heru was, and sometimes identified with Heru. A lot of people don't know Hathor. You know, when you get into the essence of Hathor, you know, Hathor became a very symbolic mother in reference to the coat of Dendra, as a result to the wheel of Dendra that is often seen in the canopy of a lot of the Egyptian temples. You know, Heru would be depicted there. You know, this is a symbol of the mother in the womb of the constellational universe. You know, this is the divine mother, you know, of the reigning pharaoh. You know, also as a devoted wife of Sa, she was able to mummify and reanimate, you know, Sa in his dismembered body after he had been murdered by Set. In other words, she exhumed him. And it is said that through Heka, or words of power, she was able to conceive their son Heru in the process. Our sisters have been one of the most sacred weapons that we have had in this dark period, brothers. You know, even in their unconscious state, those who were semi-conscious knew that they had a duty and an obligation to protect the throne, to protect their God-man, to protect their home by any means necessary. In the last decades, couple of decades, truth be told, as many as our brothers that has been on the manifest out here running their beat, starting this over here and starting that over there when it comes to dealing with movements, you know, it's a lot of our sisters that really, you know, that knew who they were. They have kept us on the forefront. We give honors to sisters like Harriet Tubman. We give honors to sisters like Maya Angelou, you know, Betty Shabazz, Coretta Scott King, our Grand National Secretary of the State, Cherub and Seraphim, you know, and also, you know, Grand Secretary of the State, along with the Grand Treasurer, you know, like, let's go on. There are many of them that have stood on the front line in defense of the God man. Sister Sherazad Ali, you know, it's a whole lot of them out there that knew the assignment that they were given. This is the woman that man is happy to call a wife. These women, that even when the God man is off the manifest, they know that it is their duty, you know, to keep moving forward as it relates to the mission. So yeah, Asar was known to be great in expressing Heka. You know, her healing powers, her ability to protect her seed. You know, in ancient Kemetic myth, she cured the sun god Ra from a snake bite. That's all symbolism. In return for knowledge of his secret name, she passed this on to Heru, giving him great powers. You know, her most famous cult site was the island of Pale, near Aswan, you know, where there's a grand temple complex that was constructed in her honor. And this is how the God man and God woman honored each other among our ancestors. They would build temples of veneration. You know, so these are powerful measures of unfoldment. It was through these drawings that there were divine creeds that were created, so to speak. Alset was actually known also as a universal mother. You know, it was due to her devotion, her nurturing qualities. You know, this is where she gained her immense popularity at, you know, throughout Kemet. She was also associated with resurrection and could use her powers of Heka to restore life and to help mothers and children. This is why you often hear them say that a lot of women have intuitive powers. They can work with the intuition. They call them seers. According to the mythos of Alsar, you know, which were mentioned in the first time of what they call the pyramid text, dating back to about 2350 BC, Alset was the daughter of Geb. This would automatically make Alsar and Alset. Well, Alset was the daughter of Geb. And this would also make Alset and Alsar brothers and sisters. Geb simply means the earth. So they were both sons and daughters of the earth, of Ta, of the land. The god of the earth is Geb. And then they were also, you know, Nut, you know, being the goddess of the sky, you know, she represented their mother. You know, the brothers, you know, when you go into the essence of all of this particular history, you know, we find we have Alsar, Alset, Nephthys, and it just goes on and on when we get into that history. But, Alset was said to be able to restore life or the breath of life by utilizing her wings. Fluttering her wings, she would bring forth, this person from their death. All of this is symbolism. European like to call it magic, but they call it, again, Heka. You would often see upon the head of the woman, which is an emblematic throne, and this throne has 3 steps. Well, we'll say 3 points on it: the bottom, the seat, and then the portion that represents the back portion. And this is where it represents, the name of Alset as it represents, meaning seat or throne. So in order for a God man to truly reign supreme, he has to reign from the throne of the mother. And the throne sits on the head, but in all actuality is symbolic to what is in the head. So the man can only reign supreme if he has gained access to the seat of the consciousness of the God woman. And this is when he truly becomes the living pharaoh, or the Per-Ah, as they would call it, or Ramesu, one that is ruling as a son of the great God. Yeah, so Alsar is able to be seated upon the throne or within the consciousness of the God woman, the royal throne, and this actually has to do with a measure of one being able to cause a reincarnation. If you can plant the consciousness in the God woman, then surely when she rear up your seed, then that seed, feeding from the ethers of the native planes of his mother, would automatically come, reincarnation. Yeah, so yeah, this is a powerful demonstration. You'd often see the goddess sitting on the throne, suckling, Heru as a child. That later became a symbol of what they like to call the Black Madonna in the Catholic Church. So it's so much symbolism when it come forth, but Alset was literally a giver of life. A lot of our people don't know this. We can't make this stuff up. But how did she receive the life, to give the life? She had to have a God man that gave it to her. He gave her 2 apples, didn't he? Heru, as we spoke of her, she was depicted as the goddess of love. Heru is mentioned in our Moorish prayer. You see, she had many aspects of herself. And also having a depiction, even being similar of, the lion is Sekhmet. The measure of the prehistoric goddess go all the way back to decorations on the cosmetic palettes from the pre-dynastic periods of 5500 to 3100 BC. And it combines the celestial and bovine themes in a prehistoric representation of a Hathor-like goddess. That's a symbol that was passed down, through the line of Carthage, known as the Tetnet, which looked like an ankh. Have you ever seen that circle with the symbol and the triangle coming off it with arms in Moorish literature? Yeah, that's the symbol of Heru. Coming out of Kemet, going all the way into the realm of what we call the Damari, or the Moors. The Divine Mother is also symbolic to the cow. The cow represented a symbol of motherhood. This is why you will see the horns with the sun disk in between it. This goddess was also seen suckling the king, bestowing her favor and support upon him. Love The symbol being expressed: love, joy, sexuality, music, dance, but also having a wide variety of many other associations. Heru. I'm saying this because the elements are the descriptions that we are being given in our Moorish Holy Quran as it talks about the goddess. We can see that these are everything that was described in the description of what a goddess was according to our ancient ancestors. Like, we can't make this stuff up. It don't get no plainer than the truth. So a God man is looking for a God woman. And sometimes it takes the God man to teach a God woman how to be a God woman. And vice versa, it takes a God woman to teach a child, what it is to identify with a real God mother, a mother. And he knows what to look for in the goddess because he's seen it in his mother. She knows what to look for because she's seen it within the goddess, her mother. You see? As opposed to that half-paced culture that had been passed down to our people, unfortunately. So yeah, it's a powerful demonstration when we get into these special drawings. Hetar or Heru also comes down to us in the mother of Ishmael, which was Hagar or Hajar. You see? She has the same honor as it relates to dealing with the mother. We can't make this up. We were given a master measure when it comes to dealing with the mother in Islam. When they use the term al-Kitab, the mother of the books. If that don't connect you back to your divine creed, then what will? The mother of the books. Al-Kitab. That don't sound like divine creed to you? Man, that's powerful. So we have to really understand what it means when we say the breasts of one mother have given us suck. But we got to understand that in order for this to be such, there has to be a oneness between the mother and the father. And they become the line of divinity, just like that umbilical cord through which the nutrients, were passed in order to sustain us before we were able to be cut away and, receive that of our own and on our own, independently. I mean, all sustenance comes from the great God Allah. So, it really is not your own doing. So we just going into the essence, of what it means. I want to share my screen real quick. Just to show our family something. We always want to do this sometime. I'm going to do the entire screen because I may want to go another area. And this is coming from the dictionary of the Quran. We're going to just read this one definition from this particular area. And we're going to go ahead and get ready to open up the floor. If you look here, it says umun, which means mother, source, principle, origin, prototype. Let's just stop right there. It's one thing to be a mother, but then we are talking about source. No wonder we hear the term al-Kitab, mother of the book, the source from whence all books come. So whether you know it or not, sister, every life that you bring forth into this life not only becomes a miniature book, retaining all of the information, that come from yourself, but they also represent chapters of a greater book in creation. You see? And within that book, we have ayats. Within the ayats, which represent signs, there are also words. Everything in life is a living manifestation in this book of creation. Principles. Mother represent principles. So the source of your principles, your 5 principles, again, this goes back to your divine creed. This is your sustenance. This is the source that come forth from the source of sources through the husband, which is your father. This is how you are cherished and sustained. Who wouldn't want a God woman that he could place principles in, principles of action, and she acts thereupon them and utilize these principles and adorn herself with them, more so than those who may look for things cosmetically to adorn their appearance. A God woman seeks to adorn her appearance with principles of divinity. And that'll cover up everything that makeup ain't able to cover up. So the origin, also, mother represents origin. Mother represents prototype. We putting this thing in its proper perspective. Because we got some sisters out there now, they want you to call them the God woman. Later, for you being the God man, they the God woman, and you supposed to bow down. That's a whole different degree, brother. Don't you get caught up in none of that. Yeah, you're a goddess, but not to the extent that we're going to go outside of the great God Allah and independently worship you. No, it don't work like that. We prostrate before each other. Like I said, it gave up the term monology, Umahat, which is Umal Kura, mothers. They had also the mother of towns, which is Umi, which is Makkah. So when we talk about the holy city, Mecca, Mecca also has reference to your mother. See? Rever the womb that have bore you. The true womb that has bore you is above your neck. The seat of consciousness. Brothers and sisters, that's Mecca. That's mother. So my mother belonging to mother, that's a powerful demonstration. So yeah, these some grand drawings in relation to dealing with that. And if you will go into your exegesis commentary as well. And we get some grand drawings in relation to the mother even there. You see? Like they were speaking here. Listen to this. Now, we were just talking about Kemet. It says, and this is quoting Quran, Surah 20, Ayat 5. He says, he is the most gracious God who is firmly and flawlessly established on his throne of power. His throne of power is supported by these 4 divine graces. Now, I go to thinking about them 4 quadrants. And they were mentioning divine graces up here. The grace of Rabubiyat, which deals with the lordship of his name. Rahmaniyat, which is Rahman, most gracious. Rahimiyat, which deals with merciful. And Malikat, Malikiyat, which actually deals with his kingship. You know, these four measures, when we deal with the expression of his throne of power as it relates to these four graces, I can't help but think of four quadrants. Divine mercy, divine love, and these divine graces may be called the mother of all divine graces. Wow. Which are in operation at all times in the universe. The order in which they are mentioned in Al-Fatiha and Surah Al-Fatiha, ayahs 1 through 4, is their natural order, and they are being manifested in order mentioned. These graces of mercy and love are being bestowed on his entire creation because he desires to have them bestowed, not because of anything his creation has done to earn them. It's already there. So it began to go into these divine graces, or the quadrants, I would say. Rububiyat, the first divine grace, is the fountainhead of Allah's Rububiyat. And this is his first attribute, Rabbi al-Alamin, meaning creator, evolver, nourisher, sustainer of all the worlds, the cosmos, the worlds, the spheres, the planets of life. It's all there in all these forms, spirits of knowledge of other realms of non-matter, such as that of paradise, which is called Jannat, hellfire, angels, anything that comes under the sway of Allah's holy intention, al-Idrat, al-Makadas, his perfect knowledge, al-Alim, are part of Alim Mikabir, which is the macrocosmos that we always speak of. See, there's no truth that contradicts another truth. Every form of creation, living or non-living, with forms or without form, comes under the sway of Allah's Rabubiyat. All bodies were manifested and still being manifested through it, and all were evolved and still evolving through it. This grace is the very origin of the universe. Were it to be withdrawn for even an instant, the universe would end. So imagine, the mother refusing to give her baby, breast milk. And this is needed for the baby to get a jump start. Then what would happen to the seed? Surely the seed would come to a demise for a lack of sustenance. And it's the same as the great God Allah when he deal with his motherly graces that we're talking about here. If he were to withdraw any of this sustenance, this grace of his rububiyat, that's just one of them, there would have been no creation. Therefore, the grace of rububiyat make ranks above all other graces because it came into manifestation with other graces were manifested even after the creation of the universe. The need for this grace remains insistent in every moment, just as if Allah had not yet created anything. His rububiyat, it actually continues to envelop all objects of his creation. So Allah says our word to a thing when we intend it to come into being is only that we say being it comes to be, being it is, kun fayakun is the Arabic. Surah 16 ayat 40. See also Surah 2 ayat 117. Thus his first word is be. All objects of creation are the result of obedience to command. Be. Though in your faculty of imagination every impossible thing is possible through him, still he brings into existence whatever he desires according to his eternal perfect knowledge, his will and his merciful intention. Al-Iradat al-Muqaddas. He desires all existing things, and he does not utter his command unless he desires and intends. But all of this goes deep, family. This is just one part of the graces that are mentioned. It go further into it. These graces of mercy, divine graces of mercy, which are the mothers. It represents the mother, of Allah's grace and so forth and so on. It's powerful. So you get a chance, go into it. It's a lot there, so I ain't gonna try to cover it now. But I just wanted to mention that, But just like we need all of these things to live, in order for us to live, the God woman has to receive, her strength and her protection from the God man so that she can do her work and therefore rear up the seeds, to demonstrate the same thing. And that's why we say, again, happy with a man that should make her his wife, and happy, the child that should call her, mother. So that's my drawing, family. And we're going to go ahead and open up the floor at this particular time so that we can hear from our Moorish kin. So star six your phone, Moors, and bring forth your portion. Islam. Islam, sister.
Gratitude, National Grand Chief. Islam. I am the National Grand Secretary of Indiana, Dr. Saad Natinu Heturu El, and we rise giving perfect praises to our Father God Allah and the highest honors to our holy prophet El Haj Sharif Abdul Ali. Honors to all of Act 1, honors to our Grand National Seal, our Grand National Emblem, and our Grand National Flag, the Moorish flag. Honors to our divine constitution and bylaws, and honors to all things that are Moorish. Special honors to all those who have opened up the way according to law, and honors to our National Grand Sheik for this grand class. It's long, Grand Man. And I tell you, it's been such a beautiful unfoldment coming from our Chapter 45. Marriage instructions for man and wife from the noble prophet. Happy were the man that should make her his wife. Happy the children that should call her mother. And you came through with a very powerful demonstration, Grand Man, tying us back to our divine nature as the goddess that sits on the throne. When the God Man and her are united to make that triune Allah, which is the child, the divine child that comes forth from their divine union. And I've always admired the way you break down these demonstrations by giving us first the divine aspect and then tying it back to how it relates to us as being Moorish American nationals. And it's such a beautiful unfoldment. I remember when I first came into our Moorish American government, I found it to be very interesting that we referred to each other as goddesses and queens, and we referred to our brothers as godmen and kings. And it's the more that you attend our classes and our meetings, you'll start to feel that divinity that comes forth from when a God man gives a class, and when the divine ones come forth and give their drawings and their measures. And it's such a beautiful thing. Tying back the Semitic connection to our royal station in the cosmos is so divine. And this ties back to the goddess in her higher self being crowned as the giver of life, the goddess of love. All these things that I said, and or Isis and other cultures bring forth, and Het Heru and the lioness Sekhmet, and how all of us are personified as a divine goddess because of our unique connection to the Divine Mother. And it's just such a beautiful unfoldment. I learned so much about at Peru. I remember when you gave me my high name, and I've seen that name, And it was speaking of the goddess of love and dance and sex and music and all these things. And when you look at it from a European standpoint, they don't really break it down the way that you gave it to me. So I'm very grateful for that. And it's such a beautiful, beautiful frequency and energy to actually live in, to actually be in a divine union with my God man, and us bringing forth our three divine conscious babies, because they are coming into the world with consciousness. You look at him at first sight and say, "Oh, that's an adorable baby," and not even think like this child understands exactly what I'm saying when I'm saying it. A lot of ones say, "Oh, that's just a baby. They don't know anything," and they're wrong when it comes to our Moorish American babies, because they coming in with their eyes wide open and with that divine love out front, because they are receiving it from their mother and father. And this has just been a grand class to further that example of that Triune Allah, which I first heard from our National Grand Sheikh Emeritus, who officiated our divine union. And he spoke of the Triune Allah with us coming forth, and the future guidance of the nation that will be brought forth from our divine union. And it's definitely a beautiful, beautiful thing to witness. Gratitude, God, man, for allowing me to speak. Grand class. And gratitude for the knowledge as always. Peace and love.
And peace and love, sister. You know, that's a powerful demonstration. You know, one of the most powerful demonstrations that came out to touch our people, you know, in the movie Black Panther, you know, which they getting ready to make a third version, is when they talked about the heart-shaped herb, you know, which gave one the power, you know, the panther. And this was actually discovered by the sister Boss, or the goddess Boss, you know, who watch over the particular nation of Wakanda, you know, who was the sister of Bashinga, so to speak. But the measure in regards to dealing with this, you know, that symbolism in the heart-shaped herb that gives one the power, you know, to be able to become, you know, powerful, it really represented a symbol of divine love. You know, and the plant that they were consuming is so infused with, you know, that divine love, to where it empowers a God man to be the God man and warrior king that he may be, so to speak. And the same thing when it comes to the seeds, you know, to keep that lineage going, so to speak. You know, that is what has been taken from us. The European has literally pulled, you know, our people's hearts out. And when I say heart, I'm not even talking about the physical heart. I'm talking about the consciousness. You know, they have blocked the passageway, you know, for the God man to be able to sit in the seat of the consciousness of the God woman. And vice versa, for the woman to feel protected, you know, under the throne, or the one that is the royal variant, to be seated in the throne. You know, and this lineage being broken, nothing being passed down, you know, the whole nation is left without protection. I almost think about, you know, when they talked about Wakanda losing their king in the movie. You know, it's the same thing. What happened when our nation has lost its king? When there's no king to be seated a throne upon the goddess. You see? Then how can there be a family after that? How can you build a nation? Symbolism is everything. Everything can be used in a symbolic way. You know, so yeah, that's a powerful demonstration in and of itself. The next more, the floor is still open. *6 your phone. Islam, brother.
This is Dr. Marvin in the state. Public journalist, territory. Praise and honor have been given, but I will reiterate all praise to the great God Allah. Highest honor to his prophet. High honor to our Moorish American government, our Act 1, all of our officials and citizens of this Moorish American government. I have to know that open this meeting according to law. And honor to everything that is Moorish. That's everything that the prophet brought to save us as a nation of people. And honor to those that gave their message before me and all that will give their message after me. Honor to this class, our Moorish Perspectives class. I mean, this indeed was a Moorish Perspectives. I mean, you laid it out. I'm going to say something like superbly, masterfully, divinely. Because, as I was listening, as you were giving your measure, as you were breaking down the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, I saw how you connected, us to our ancestors, connecting us to the genealogy, the lineage, with our ancestors, and how our ancestors were so advanced. I mean, as we are, as a people, and how you connected up, the hieroglyphs or the actual gods and goddesses, that our ancestors exemplified. They depicted, in their hieroglyphs. It was just so powerful. You showed how it's where the Europeans went astray, so to speak. Even though they went and stole, ransacked our temples, our educational facilities, and how they misinterpreted, with a little bit of knowledge, they accomplished so much, it kept us at bay, so to speak. But there were those that maintained the knowledge, wisdom, and the understanding of the ancestors, thereby allowing our prophet, who was prophesied to come on the manifest, just as we are prophesied as to what we are supposed to do, as we come back into the knowledge of self, raising our consciousness, beyond that of flesh, of bones, man. And I can only just, say God witness, in order to just say gratitude for bringing on such a powerful, such an enlightening class, elevating our consciousness, even though we can't completely comprehend everything that you brought, and I look forward to studying this lesson here. This is one, let's say, for the books, as you talked about, God is the mother of the book. Kitab. This is powerful, and I look forward to really, really going into this. So this is what, we need in our lives. This is what we need in comprehending just how much we are a part of the truth that the prophet brought. He brought us something we can shout about, and gratitude for your degree of understanding. We appreciate you and everything that you do for our Moorish American government. And that's all I would like to say. and I'm just driving, to fully grow into what I'm meant to be. I say gratitude, God, man, for all you do. Islam and peace.
And gratitude to you as well, grand man. Yep. When we say Al Kitab, the mother of the book, if the mother birthed the book, then surely it will be us. We didn't know we was the book. We are the book that everybody been waiting on. All we got to do is attune ourselves and align ourselves, with our mission, and we can be a grand book to manifest to the people. Circle 7 made manifest. That's what our real obligation is to become. Yes, our prophet was that. Now we got to do the same thing he did and be the same thing he was able to be. The circle 7 of our time. Islam. Are there any other Moors who would like to come forth and exercise day 5? Star 65. Islam, sister. Sister, we don't stand down for brothers in here. We don't stand down for brothers in here. You've been in here long enough to know that. Come on in here, sister. Give your measure. Give your measure, sister. Go ahead, sister. We want to hear you. We want to hear you. Islam.
Gratitude, God, man, gratitude. This is Cammy. I'm in Michigan. I rise, honor, praise the great God of life. I honor his prophet, Noble Drew Ali, officials, citizens, Moors here, there, and everywhere. Allah planted his seed in Mother Earth. The brothers do the same thing. Imitate Allah and the Prophet. Plant your seed in whatever fertile ground you can, because we need to populate the planet with more Asiatics. It's 60 million plus in the Americas. Let's try to make it 70 million plus. The woman and the significance of the woman as far as the comparison to Allah planting seed in Mother Earth, the brothers planting seed in the womb of a woman is what's natural. If we didn't have men and women conceiving children, all of the children would come from a lab somewhere where they were genetically engineered or scientifically created. Create life the way Allah has given you. The womb is for children, raising children, as far as the woman, and how the man should honor her, and how the children should honor her. He's the mother and the wife. She keeps that household together in her demonstration. She has duties and responsibilities as a wife. You tend to your duties and responsibilities as a wife. Your husband, God, man, tend to his duties and responsibilities as a husband, according to the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. And you should have a very good and peaceful marriage. It should be without conflict. All that arguing and disagreeing and all of that stuff, that's not a Moorish way to do things. The goddess needs to be able to obey her husband and tend to her children. And if she has a problem with that, then she needs to take some self-reflection
And I'm not talking about obeying like you're an animal or a slave or anything like that. Your God, man, that's your anchor. You're supposed to support him, and he will in turn support you. But you all have duties. The prophet has laid them out to you. My demonstration is a tad bit different. And I don't have a spouse or children other than my Moorish kin being my, my Moorish kin being my family, being my earthly family. But I do know that in ministry, you have to be able to counsel and discuss these such as duties and resolve conflict between husband and wife. And when you are doing that, you should be able to guide them. That book and woman and her influence, she has influence in the creation of it all, just like the God-man has influence in the creation of it all. Try to obey him in every way possible and make it work, because we don't support divorce. Gratitude.
And gratitude. That's why we wanted you to come forth and get that measure, sister. Praise be to Allah for making it plain.
Man.
Thank you for making it plain. Well, all right. Now, what that brother that was trying to get in there? Islam?
Islam, man.
Islam, brother.
This is brother Michael Stay here.
You got a little background noise, brother.
Yeah, we about to get out the way. We got to go and sit up in room to party.
Okay, yeah, it's bleeding through. I want to hear your measure because you get some grand measures, brother.
Praise Allah, praise Allah. We just a student in the school of thought. Praise Allah, the holy. Now, I never rise as more thoughts, words, acts, and deeds, and to the best of my ability, within this particular garb of flesh, to give all true and divine praise unto the one true God. For whom we, as Moorish American national, refer to as being, is Allah. But who we know is the author and the cherisher and sustainer of all the world, seen and unseen. For whom we know is almighty and eternal and incomprehensible and master of the day of judgment. And to Allah alone belongs worship, adoration, thanksgiving, and praise. I give praise unto Allah all the days of my life, even to my physical death and burial of the physical flesh. Now, on the day of judgment, Allah resurrection from this particular flesh, I will give praise unto Allah even on the day of judgment. I will forever give praise unto my Father God Allah. I extend our hail and honors unto the last prophet that was born in these days and times, that was hurled through the cosmos at a particular rate of speed and landed in the state of North Carolina in the year 1886, with the expressed and sole purpose of uplifting fallen humanity. The angel became unawares when they asked him, where are all those books that you're supposed to have? And the prophet supposed to have said that he was supposed to point it to his temple and went about his measure. The holy divine prophet, Prophet Noble Ali, who demonstrated pardon by that, God, who demonstrated what all you boys are being here. They're only going to be a handful saved. They'll have fingers left over. The holy divine prophet will establish the Moorish American nation, bringing us back our nationality, our divine creed as being upright, independent, fearless. It gave us our title to our vast and favorite heritage as being Moorish American nationals. We forever give honors to his holy divine angel sent by Allah to bring us his everlasting gospel. I ask honors to the forerunner of the illustrious prophet. For what John the Baptist was to Jesus those days, we did come up and stir the nations up, receive the coming teaching of Jesus. The Honorable Marcus Lazar Garvey, may the peace and blessing of Allah be upon his soul, established what was called the Universal Negro Improvement Association, which boasts of 5 million members. In this particular movement, he examined and uplifted race pride and said, above the mighty race, you can come step of which you will. The author was quoted as saying that I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. He was also quoted as saying that the intelligence shall rule the world, that ignorance shall carry its burden. Honors to all the true divine prophets, just to name a few, the Jesus, Isa alayhi salam, Yahshua, Muhammad, Buddha, and Confucius. May the peace and blessings of Allah be upon their soul. I shall answer all those who established the divine national movement with the elected prophets of the read. Those who are long and strong and on to the gospel cloud, even into this era of time. The prophet was quoted saying, those that were with me 2,000 years ago, they are with me today. But those that were against me 2,000 years ago, they're against me. Honors to my national flag, the flag has been flying for over 100,000 years. Honors to my seal, grand seal. Honors to all the things that were established by the illustrious prophet. Honors to my Moorish American national government, a truly everlasting government, a government that has been ordained from olden times to stand, and it will also stand until the living days to come. Honors to all my officials with the Moorish American national government, and honors to all of you who do this mighty work in the cause of this for all humanity. Honors to all my Moorish American citizens, kin, honors to those who spoke before me, and honors to all those who will speak after me. And a special honor to all those who are on the call tonight. May the peace and blessings of Allah be upon you, your children, and your future projects. So, I just got off of work from my other job sheet. We had to work both of them today, so pardon the privacy. That's why we always join the call late. But we know that the prophet says you got to make it to the meeting if you got the call. So there's no excuse. The prophet took all the excuses. The lesson that you taught was profound. We got to the last of it, but I always go back and listen to the lesson. But I want to go into that particular verse, the last verse that says, happy is the man that has made her his wife, and happy the child that called her mother. I just want to take the first word from that particular verse, and that word is happy. When we looked up and defined what the word happy was, we saw that it meant contentment, along other things. And we know that the word contentment can mean a lot of things. But an aspect that I want to tie it in with in this particular measure is that there is no greater contentment that allow man to want. It's a divine contentment. It's also having the sense of confidence with an arrangement or a situation that we were ordained from olden times that will be with us in this sacred school we taught. This is the supreme confidence and the arrangement in which has bestowed upon us in this era time as being upright, independent, and fearless, to teach our little ones they may grow and unfold as a bud unfolds to show the flower. Also, the word could be illustrated as being a well-being or joy or delight, willing to be helpful. These particular classes in which are being taught 7 days a week, 365 days a year, as above so below, are very helpful for the spiritual growth and development of bringing us back to our Father God, giving us the strength to endure all the trials and temptations that are manifold, to endure all the supplications, to endure all the repercussions that those who are unconscious of themselves care to bestow upon the nation of people. It also displays favor by fortune. In this particular aspect, I would say the spiritual riches, by being at one block Father God Allah, striving to reconnect ourselves to the higher powers. Because the Holy Prophet said that we connected the wires, the broken wires, and mended them, and we connected them to the higher powers. The divine instruction of the Holy Quran and the more science of the excuse me, but that's the school of thought that came from. The Holy Quran of Moorish America, I'm trying to unfold it to the vast state of its heritage. Is the divine instruction that was brought by the illustrious prophet of Allah. And it has spiritual riches. That every time when you open this particular little book, as the prophet said, it will be in your mouth as sweet as honey, but it'll be in your breast a bit. This spiritual riches is also a blessing that we were created in the image and likeness of our Father God of love. And one should be very, very happy that we are created in this image and likeness. But we have those on the manifest that aren't created in the image and likeness. They have to take these particulars and straighten them out. Also, in the title of the word happy, it shows to express joy and devotion. The joy of being a Moorish American nation, being alive in this era of time, being about our Father's work. But we know that all the patriarchs and masters of all the olden time declines, some of them wish they could be with us today in this era of time. They could come back and help us be about our Father's work, with the express purpose of meant for all humanity. But it's bestowed upon us in this era of time to demonstrate this particular measure of a victory for our humanity. Also, from a particular school of thought, it says that it was 777,777 seed that was hurled forth from the heart of man into the soul of soul, or into the heart of woman. That only one particular seed out of those 777,700 is to be ordained to be the God man or the God woman at this particular time, to be the Lord of the plane of things, soul, and of the plane of things made manifest. So in that particular arrangement that was ordained by Allah, he already knew from olden times that you would be the one that would be who you are in this era of time, and that the sister, she would be who she is in this era of time, and that the children that would be bestowed between this particular union and spiritual growth and development would be the future lords and vicegerents in our future nation of being upright and independent citizens that will retain the title to our vacillated energy. Happy is the man that is made there as white, or white in this particular time, is the mother of virtues and the harmonies of life that breeds justice, mercy, love, and right. And happy is the child that becomes a mother, that we are the children of one Father, provided for his kid, and the blessed one mother hath given his son. To let the bonds of affection therefore unite thee with our brothers, our sisters, that peace and happiness may dwell in our Father's house. There's a beautiful measure sheet, well unfolded, beautiful. It goes on the card unfolded before me. I stand as a student, learning to demonstrate the possibilities of man this every time. And I thank you for giving me the opportunity and gratitude to each and one of you for giving me this opportunity to speak in front of a marvelous, grand multitude of my brothers and sisters. And sisters, peace and love, gratitude.
Peace and love, gratitude, grand man, for making it even plainer. That's right, wisdom, will, and love. That's that triune Allah, that is above, within our conscious and in us, and also, that triune Allah that expresses itself through the God man, God woman, and God child. Islamism without the schism. Well, all right. Any Moors who would like to come forth and exercise their fire before we go to the official? Well, all right. Going once. Going twice. Well, you can't say you ain't thrice blessed. So, at this time, we ain't going to delay. Let us call forth our beloved National Grand Secretary of the State, Sister Dendra Neal Curta Bay. We know she going to set the souls, hearts, and minds on fire with love and holy zeal. You there, Goddess? Oh, that just gave you long time to go long as you want to. Go ahead, sister.
Islam, family. I am the National Assistant Grand Secretary of State, Dr. Dendra Neal Curta Bay. First, let me rise and give praises to our great God alone. I give honors to our Holy Prophet, Noble Drew Ali. I give honors to Ad One. I give honors to all my government officials. And I give honors to you, National Grand Chief. Woo.
But this powerful, powerful class tonight, I tell you, I'm like the goddess. I love the way you just break things down and make us look at them in a different way. And especially when you was talking about the Trinity, the triune Allah, and how you was talking about how that then, we thought that meant Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost, and how you broke that down that mean the God man, the God is in the child. And we could just go in so many different ways. You covered so much material, and I just want to touch on the main things that jumped out to me. All of them did, and definitely going back and listen to the playback. Definitely got to listen to that, and because this was a powerful, powerful class. But you talked about, I loved it when you talked about how basically how we have to be married basically to this movement. And as my Moorish King was bringing forth their measures, and as I was sitting meditating on what you were saying, and I was thinking, I was like, man, if you being married to, especially to this divine movement of the great God of love, when you treat that as a marriage, and I started thinking about how you wouldn't neglect this divine movement, neither would you neglect your wife. You would treat her with the utmost respect in the same way you would do with this divine movement. So when you pointed out that we have to be married first to, this the movement, and demonstrate that marriage bond with this movement in order to be the husband and the wife that the great God Allah has caused us to be. Because this is where you gonna get your teaching. This is where you gonna learn how to be the God man, the husband. This is where you gonna learn how to be the wife. Oh God, man, I tell you, this is powerful. And then another thing stood out to me when you talked about you talked about, and that hit so close. All you got to do is just look around, family. When you was talking about how the mothers sometimes we get caught up and cause our children, not just the men, not just the man or the boy, the daughters too. How we can sometimes can go overboard and cause them, cause the girl. A lot of times we cause the girl to be so independent, and she thinks she don't need no man. And then we have our sons so we enable them, and they are not able to stand up and be the man that they're supposed to be. So that was a good analogy, a good thing for us as women to take in consideration, and to make sure that we got that balance in dealing with raising our children. And not only in dealing with raising our children, get these teachings and take it to our people who are waiting on us. They are waiting for us to bring them these divine teachings of our holy prophet. They're waiting on us, and to bring this to them. And somebody got their mic open. I hear a lot of background noise. And you was talking about I loved it when you talked about a solid set. You talked about how a set represents. She represented the mother, and how the mother. We see these teachings coming from our holy prophet, coming from our holy Quran, because the mother is the first teacher. She's there to teach that child and to drive in what the husband has laid out. And you pointed out how the husband teaches the wife, and how the wife learned from the God man. And also when I think about that, and being in this divine movement, you know, the God man goddesses who are here, you know, regardless if you've been if you married, if you are not married, basically to me, the men, the God men here in this government who's following after the prophet's teaching, you are basically our husband. And we are basically, so to speak, your wives. Because you carry that principle. Yeah, it might not be we might not be standing here, but spiritually, I can see that demonstration even in this divine movement, even in our Lord's movement. You may not have a husband, you may not have children, but all the children are ours, and we are here to demonstrate before them how they should be acting, and to give them these divine teachings, because this come from our holy prophet. And last but not least, you talked about how the goddesses. There again, I can see this in our young people, and I kind of run into some people, some goddesses with that mindset. They come over. They come across to you talking about. They start talking about how this Mother Earth, she is the mother, and basically how the goddesses, how we are in charge. They come off as if that they want to put us above the man. And like I said, I've run into this thinking, and I'm like, well, wait a minute, where is the? I never seen this. Our ancestors never demonstrated that, and I never seen that in the teachings of my holy prophet, where you elevate the woman over the man. That ain't what Allah teaches us. That's not what the prophet teaches us. We are one. We are one. You don't place one over the other, you know. But you got that. That's a mindset that's out there. That the women, you know, they want the man almost basically, like you say, to bow down to them. And I'm like, you know what? A lot of times when you don't know who made you, when you don't know that you're one with the great God Allah, you get taken off by teachings like that. But when you understand who made you, and you understand the prophet's teachings, you don't get carried away in thinking like that, because we know our God man respects us. They don't put us in this government. They don't put us on one side and the men on the other side. You know, we don't do none of that. And you see how we demonstrate how y'all appreciate us and you respect us. And even in giving our measures, you tell us, you know, let the goddess, you tell the God man, let the goddess go first. And they be, and family, and the God men, they be glad to let the goddess go first, because they understand the teachings. They understand who she is. Oh, family, Dr. Shaheed, I tell you, this has been a powerful class for me. Happy was the man that should make her his wife. Happy the child that should call her mother. I tell you, this is a powerful, powerful teaching, and I'm going to stop right there. And gratitude, God, man, for calling me for going back to listen to the playback. Islam, peace and love.
And Islamism, peace and love, goddess. We give honor to you for that message. I know a lot of time, you know, it be God women, and sometimes it be elder God women be trying to hold the door for me, and I wish I would let you hold that door for me. You better get out the way and let me come over there and hold that door for you. You know what I mean? And yeah, we always are very courteous, you know, like you say, but we don't go overboard. It's a balance. And we recognize, you know, our goddess as a matriarch, you know. Yeah, all in well, but we don't worship, you know, our people. We only worship the great God Allah. Now we may prostrate before each other, but that's a form of reverence. You know, we worship Allah in love because that's the only form of love to truly be demonstrated. We just be full of love and we worship Allah together. You know, we praise Allah, you know, that He is the essence of each other's being. And that's the tie. You see? Soul ties change, but that spiritual measure don't. Islamism without the schism. But let us call forth our national Grand Mufti. Islam, you there, Grand Dr. Khonshu Mark Herubay. Islam, Grand Man? Yes, sir.
Honors that we can give to this prophet. Our prophet, the last prophet in these days and in these times, Prophet Noble Ali, Abdul Ali, the savior of humanity. We give honor to his forerunner, Marcus Mosiah Garvey, and we give honor to his government. Our government, the Moorish American government, the government in which we live. We give honor to the officials of this said government, our divine ministers, our swift angels, our mufti, our royal council, our secretary. Give honor to our citizens, the Moorish Americans. We give honor to our flag and our divine constitution and bylaws, our holy Quran, our grand national seal, our grand national emblem, our book of fire, the exhument of a nation. We give honor to everything that is Moorish. We give a special high honor to the National Grand Chief for bringing forth this grand Moorish perspective this evening, demonstrating grand lesson. We give honor to all of our Moorish kin who have spoken before us and to our Moorish kin that will speak after us. We give honor to you, and continue to give the honors where they're due and honoring all true and divine prophets. And we give honor to our ancestors. They came before us leading the way, and we are them today without doubt or contradiction, because no one has the power to change man from his intent nature. Praise Allah for that. I wouldn't want to be nothing else than who I am, Moorish American. And it's been a grand class only as our Moorish kids created grand measures. You know, I couldn't do nothing but agree along with what you put out. Angel, you know, from the very beginning, as one said, you know, we got to honor our sisters who are being right with us side by side through our I want to call it struggle, through our chastisement and through our movement. You know, definitely all of them need their own holidays. We definitely should be celebrating them and using them as those archetypes that we teach to our daughters. You know, getting away from the Nicki Minaj's and the singers and the dancers and the actors who are some reason our people like to put up as leaders and examples. And these are the ones who have been faithful to the upliftment of our people, to the reconstruction of our families, into the God's divine will. You know, these are the ones that we raise up and we honor. And you name quite a few of them. And so, you know, we agree with that 100%, because happy is the Moorish American man who has a wife that's like that. As you said, that when something happens, she's going to keep things rolling. And she ain't going to let it all fall apart. You know, she's going to take what was given, like in the parable of the talent, and she's going to take what's invested and she's going to multiply it. Because she's a good one.
And that is something that every man, every husband, man, wants in his life, or should want in his life. As you said, the union is that triune. The guy being the head, being the focus, being the head, and then you got the husband and the wife. And it's reflected as above, so below, as a husband and wife to the child. Here you get the hexalpha right there. And that's when, when those things is in line like that, talk divinity. And so, that's a grand draw, and we support that 100%. So it's very important that we move in that thought pattern, as you said, of being married to the mission, married to the movement. Purpose is what's going to hold one together. It ain't just cozy feelings of the good days. Because you're going to have some good days, you're going to have some bad days. Or you're going to have some difficult days. I'm going to call them bad. You're going to have some days where everything's going to go smooth, and you're going to have some days where there's some challenges. But, Allah gave us everything so that we could be the victor, and lives leading on, so victory is sure. So we can get over those challenges of the people as long as we keep that one focus. Like I like to tell one, you don't get one that's in line with your purpose, and sooner or later they're going to go about their own way. They're going to go toward the victor, because that's what Allah rated. Everybody has a purpose in them, whether they know it or not, and their heart is going to drive them towards that purpose. So if your purpose ain't aligned, then you fail for destruction. So it's important to have one that has God as the forefront thought pattern on how they make decisions, and the purpose driven to uplift our people. And because that's where you're going to be able to work together, stay together. When other things fizzle out, when other things come into play as far as challenges, and then it's going to be the mission that's going to keep one together. It's going to be the mission that's going to inspire one to keep moving forward. Because there's time, especially when you talk about being in battle, and we in battle right now where, you need that reinforcement. You need to make sure the one's going to be able to reinforce that, that you ain't fighting alone. That, this task is not too, only yours, but shared responsibility and a shared dedication. And that is so important. And that's what also going to drive one to sticking together in the end, because when you look over to your left or your right to your mate, and you're going to, that's going to give you a sense of pride and a sense of not just responsibility, but loyalty. And those things is what keep one together. Loyalty, 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 loyalty. One is headed in that direction. Being the vanguard of the movement, you're another vanguard. And things, y'all on the same plane. Attitudes may change, but the mission is still the same. And as one grows, because we all go through growth cycles, we'll still be connected. We'll still be there as a husband and wife. So happy is that one who's found one like that. And that's another point I was saying. It's just important, along with that, and it's just, like I said, the family structure, once again. It brings so much love to the forefront. It brings so much more respect and honor to the forefront when you demonstrate like-minded, and you can go into that path together and down the long run. And this is what, when we talk about happiness, our Quran talks about, those things that one makes one permanently happy must be permanent. You know, if you're going to have happiness throughout your life, you got to have something that's going to permanently be there, or you're going to have, or you're not going to be happy from one moment to the next. So when you have that purpose, or that stage in your life that makes you happy doing these things, you have the family that you look at your purpose and doing things, and it's going to be there. Oh yeah, and one more thing, even with this Grand Secretary of State is talking about, you know, one's going to try to put guidance over the God, man. And that was never a demonstration. We never put our women in a situation where we say we above one. It's always been that she's behind me because I'm protected. You know what I mean? Not because I'm better than her. You know, I'm out front because I'm protected and I'm prevented. Not because my voice is louder, I'm strong, or I think I'm more intellectually superior to my woman, but because I know her work. And so I'm supposed to be up front as a man. And some, like what she said, some of them have you out here thinking, you're supposed to be submissive to that, to your woman. And you're supposed to let her go out there and do all, you know, and that's not, you know, that ain't the measure. Not that she can't be successful in the industry, but one's supposed to protect what he treasures and what he loves. What makes him happy. Happy is that man who calls her his wife. And so that, you know, that's the thought pattern that we got to also be able to let one know and show one that well, that's the measure. The measure ain't I'm better than you, you better than me. We in this together. And I'm just going to step out front so that I can protect you while you do the things that you're doing behind me. You know, fortifying our home, fortifying the demonstration, teaching the children to come out to be able to aid and support me in protecting what we can build. And what we hold and still. So this has been a grand measure this evening that you brought forth, National Grand Prix out to these. And we want to give honor to all our Morris King once again for bringing a measure, honor to them for being here with us, and giving us time, place, and respect. We love you. Islam and peace.
And Islam and peace to you as well, National Grand Mufti. You know, I was moving through city transportation the other day, and me and a brother was talking, the driver. You know, we always end up kindling up conversation with people. They always draw to the energy. And, you know, I was speaking to him in reference to all a man really wants from a God woman is his peace. And when the man has his peace, the God woman gonna get everything it is that she deserves anyway. And there was a young brother sitting behind me, and he heard ones talking, because I was giving ones a drawing on, you know, my last experience. And then the young brother asked me, he say, you know, brother, you know, do it still hurt? You know, have you healed from your situation? You know, and I knew he was asking me that because of something he was currently going through. And we drawed a little bit, and I told him, you know, when you did what you know you was supposed to do and you did what was right, it don't hurt you as much, you know, even though you may have had a thought in mind that one would be loyal or whatever the case may be. And, you know, as we got off and we went to talking, he was like, man, you know, the thing I'm going through, man, this thing had you going so bad to where it had you like you want to take your life. You know, and I told a young brother, you know, in the corner, some people will go to that extent. But the thought that one didn't act on that right there, you know, speaking of himself, you know, I was saying the thought that you didn't act on that demonstrated your strength. But, you know, the one that's really meant for you, you know, will be for you. They'll come in due time. You're like, yeah, but man, they have me in a state of mind where like you want to push him away, I'm dealing with that too, and I had to smile within because I know exactly where he coming from. But Allah don't make no mistakes, so he'll put you in the path of some individuals so you can give them that encouragement or guidance. Because who knows, that might have been the conversation that one needed to keep from doing the unthinkable. Because literally he inserted himself in the conversation, and he was sincere about the matter. So we just say gratitude for being able to be a blessing and a lesson. Because had I not been through what I was able to go through, then I wouldn't be able to teach it. Islamism without the schism. But let us call forth our National Grand Secretary of the State, Sister Hatshepsut Rakat Ma'at and Putut to come and Bay. Islam, you there, Goddess and Queen?
The phone, close to the dark, gratitude, grand class.
Islam.
Giving all praises to our Father God Allah. Giving honor to our Prophet, the last prophet in these days and times. Giving honor to our Moorish American government, all of our officials, staff, angels, muftis, divine ministers, especially our Moorish cats. Giving honor to all those Moors who spoke before me, all those Moors that will speak after me. Giving honor. Dr. Marvin Edwards Bay. We want to give honor to this Grand Moorish Perspectives class this evening. Our hosting, our NASA friend, Sheikha Moorish America, Dr. Shuttle Amenti Emma Hedges Shepsuel. And as our Moorish kin has stated, Dr. Shaheed, there were so many keys that you brought forth. We want to give honor to you on our subject matter being happy is the man that has made her his wife. Happy the child that called her mother. And just bringing forth the various, going down through dealing with the book of symbols and also down through the ages, reference to the various meanings and context, dealing with divine mother, coming out of Kemet, and also looking at the various attributes of gratitude for, coming from the exegesis and also the dictionary of the Holy Quran. When I was looking at the thing that stuck out to me was when you were speaking about being too nurturing, or in essence, not letting a child be a child, and being able to stifle one's growth and development. It also took me back to the thought pattern of how doing. And we see it's still prevalent today, the spirit of Willie Lynch in reference to our mothers had to try to not let a boy be a man because she wanted to save his life. But it kind of like made some effeminate qualities there because she was looking at, if you look at the person, slave master in the eye, what have you, you might not live to see another day. Whereas, and Rome has proved this degree up as well, thinking that, or making our emphasis think that they don't need a man, or they can work with the European God man, or what have you, and also looking negatively at our brothers. And this is something that is not natural, to us. And these are some of the things that we have got to bear in mind, because we can still be dragging those chains of mental slavery. And as you stated, passing these things on where they become tradition and custom, but you don't realize the negative aspect that it came from. So this is why we give much gratitude and honor to our prophet for bringing the measure forth. The other thing that was really profound that you brought was in dealing with the graces, of our Creator, and in comparing it to a mother that gave birth to a child. And what would that look like if she denied the child or being able to nurse the child? The same with our Creator, as far as removing any grace when it comes down to creation, there would be no creation. That was just so profound
So we give much gratitude and honor for these lessons and these degrees, and I definitely encourage my Moorish kin to go back and listen to the playback. Do the research so that we're not just being passive as listeners, but also being actively engaged in building the temple of perfected man within ourselves. So gratitude, Moore, for calling me forth. Much peace and love to all of my Moorish kin. Great class. This long.
And gratitude, National Grand Secretary of the State, for that drawing. Islamism without the schism. That's right. We be putting them keys in here. Like our sisters of Ketnam did. They went and got that Eastern body, Western mind. And there you go. We be putting them in there. If one go deeper, they definitely gonna see the treasures. So Islam, Grand Secretary of the State, for that powerful measure. But let us call forth our National Assistant Grand Sheikh, Dr. Heru Jehudi Bey. Islam, you there, Grand Man?
Sheikh, I am here.
Islam.
Islam, Moorish America, praise and honors have already been given, but I praise Allah always. Give honors to our holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali. Give honors to the Moorish American government, honors to Act 1, to all our officials, honors to our Grand National flag, our Grand National seal, Grand National emblem. I want to give honors to all Moorish Americans here, there, and everywhere. I want to give honors to our Grand Sheikh, Dr. Shrapis of Rael, as emeritus. I want to give honors to all Moorish Americans here, there, and everywhere, and also those that spoke before me, honors to all those that will speak after. Dr. Shaheed, our Grand Sheikh, this has been another beautiful, powerful Moorish perspectives. And I must say this, from day one, it was always on the calendar, always on the dial plate. Looking forward to that Saturday coming, because I always knew that the Assistant Grand Sheikh at that time, now the Grand Sheikh, was going to bring some fire. And I always used to say, you had me jumping up that time. I had to get a seatbelt to keep me in my seat, because you was, man, you always bring it, and you continue to do that. And I tell you, Grandman, I have to give you honors. I know this wasn't going to be my measure, but I have to give you honors because the knowledge that you have given, being Saket over the years has been very powerful in the unfoldment and upliftment and connecting us to not just our great God Allah, connecting us not just to our prophet, not just to the government and our family, but to one another in how we apply those principles and how we dive deep into words and the meaning of words and definitions and pronunciation. You have given us a whole new way of looking at things, looking at life and looking at creation, looking at one another with love. And I appreciate you and honor you for that. This grand class here is just another example of the continuation of what you've always been demonstrating. Your topic, happy is the man that has married his wife, happy the child that calls her mother. Islam coming out of a chapter with ayat 25. And I tell you, there's so many, like God has said, so many keys that you brought forth, and one several that stuck out, but when you said that the God is that our sisters have been some of the most faithful and strongest amongst us, and the connection how when I look at the mother and how she is our first nutritionist, how she is our first philosopher, she's our first psychologist. Islam, she's the first one to give us the directions on how to walk our lives, how we should walk our lives. She was the first, and that's a powerful responsibility. Allah knew exactly what He was doing when He made her the soil for our seed. Islam, and when you spoke about that, mentioned that umbilical cord, I remember my first child in the hospital, in the delivery room, and doctor going to hand me some shears and wanted me to cut the umbilical cord, and I didn't want to do it. For some reason, I didn't want to do it. But the goddess, she talked me into it, and how you let it be known that that didn't sever the connection between the mother and the child. That golden cord is still there. Connecting the child to the mother, and connecting the mother to the great God Allah, the creator of the universe. That cord extends beyond the physical. Islam, and having a wife that has all the attributes and potencies of our great God Allah within her. Like he said, a God man looks for a God woman. I mean, there's so many negative examples of what our God women are not. Islam, and I mean, the poison has been there and continues to be there in the music, in the visual arts, even in literature. Ones have taken our goddesses down a dark path, and it's up to us, God man, and our goddesses, to bring them back home, to bring them back to who Allah intended for them to be, to get all that naught out of them and bring the divinity back. Islam, because our children are needing that nourishment. They're needing that love and that truth and that peace in the home, peace amongst their father and mother. Islam, and sometimes it's difficult to understand how our people have been so thrown away from who they are. I know the Prophet has said that mental slavery is powerful, but the great God Allah is more powerful, and it's up to us, the students and the teachers of divinity here in the Moorish American government, to bring them ones back, so a God man doesn't have to look, go across the world to find a good goddess or a God woman. You don't have to go to another part of the universe to look for a God woman. Allah will bring her to him. The eyes will be open, the heart will vibrate, and there she is. There he is. And it's a beautiful it's a beautiful understanding to know when you have someone so connected to the great God Allah by your side. You know, there's no fear anymore. There's no fear of being alone. There's no fear of being hurt or abused. There's no fear of not having any knowledge of who you are. Islam and these lessons that you bring forth, God, man, are so powerful. And I give honors to you each and every day, as I give honors to all my officials and citizens of the Moorish American government, and as well as our new Moors. I give honors to each and every one of you because your measures, your knowledge, your understanding, what you've been through, your journey home, everything helps to elevate us. It does not matter how short your measure is or how long it is. It doesn't matter if you mispronounce a word. It does, because Julie will mispronounce the word. It doesn't matter because here in the Moorish American government, you are honored and respected, and we love you. And so, finding a God man, finding a husband, if you look to the Moorish American government, they're here, and we're here to teach our brothers and sisters how to become that. Islam, Grand Sheikh, we love you. We always look forward to your measures and your demonstration. It's always powerful, and any book, any research, we're on it. Islam, you should see my room. Woo. So gratitude, Grand Man. Gratitude. We honor everything you do, God, man. And a great lesson this evening, and we love you more. Peace and love.
Islam, Grand Man. And the love is mutual. See, here in the Moorish American government, we build off of these ayats. Like you said, brother, we can give a measure, off of a word alone. And that's how we get growth out of them. And we go through a cyclic pattern to all our new Moors that may be on the line. We go through this thing cyclically and we grow as a result of that. See, that's the effect of the Shanus effect. And that's just the comedic expression of the word circle 7. So every time we come through this circle 7 from cover to cover, that's really a symbolic cycle age. And we should come into a paradigm shift as it relates to that. Well, speaking of paradigm shifts, man, let me call forth the grand bringer of paradigm shifts when it comes to dealing with the exhuming of a nation, where you learn what it means to truly be a man, or truly be, a father and a family and all that there. Well, my Grand National Chairman at Dr. Akin Acting Pert M. Root Tooth to Common Bay. Islam.
You call me?
Man, you hit me through these 20 degrees, the snow and all. Islam.
And it's a powerful demonstration. Let me give praise to Allah to the last part of these days and times. The one that brought us is more American now than everything, including these powerful dudes. You know what? I don't think there's a greater book on the planet, because when you get marriage instructions for man and wife, then you got to take into serious consideration. We were slaves, come through slavery, and we were down at the bottom of the planet, and then the prophet came and put us on top of the family of nations and gave us these divine lessons. And when you see at the very last ayat, it says, happens a man that has made her his wife, and happens a child that can call her a mother. Who in the world is her? Good gracious. She had to go through something to come through slavery and make a man happy
and children happy, to be a wife and a mother. Now, you know that's a powerful demonstration, more. You can't take that and do nothing negative about it. That's just a blessing and an honor, and just give praise to Allah for having the wisdom to speak to us from the highest plane. So it does the powerful job. I am so pumped up behind this class here, more. It's all miserable without the skill of more. We're going to see y'all mañana. Woo. Thank you. Peace.
Islam, peace and love, grand man. And peace and love to the tribe. Man, we got the examples, the living examples. You know, we know how to talk about it, but we got some officials on the level that know how to be about it. And that's what I'm talking about. You know, praise be to Allah, Islamism without the schism. You know, you hear them out here talking about twin this and twin that. And truth be told, a lot of people don't know. You know, I actually had a conversation with one, you know, and spawned that demonstration, so to speak. You know, with some particular ones that's down here in the manifest of the South. And they took off with it. Praise be to Allah. You know, but that's what we looking for. We looking for our twin flame. You know, Islamism without the schism. And so at this particular time, we just want to say gratitude to all of those who are binded together and bound in holy matrimony. You know, and say peace and love. Keep the love out front, be the love, see the love, and pass it on to somebody else. January 15, 1929. A warning from the prophet to be read at every meeting. I hereby inform all citizens that they must end all radical agitating speeches while at work in their homes or on the streets. We are for peace and not destruction. Stop flashing your cards at Europeans. It causes confusion. Remember, your card is for your salvation. Failure to obey these orders will be of severe consequence. We are for love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. When these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any citizen or group of citizens who hold malicious feelings toward the government of the prophet or violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement will receive their reward from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors will and must obey the laws laid down to them by their prophet. If they lose confidence in their prophet, they should turn in their card and button, cease wearing their turban and fez, and return to the state where the prophet found you. This is a holy and divine movement founded by the prophet Noble Drew Ali. And if the prophet is not right, the government is not right. The prophet therefore is sending out the divine plea to all Moorish Americans that they do their part in protecting their prophet and the government. This is an everlasting movement founded by the prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways. By order of Prophet Noble Drew Ali, we bring forth this divine decree. Chapter 25, a holy covenant of the Asiatic nations. Yea, the children of one father provided for by his care, in the breast of one mother have given you suck. Let the bonds of affection therefore unite thee with thy brothers, that peace and happiness may dwell in thy father's house. And when ye separate in the world, remember the relation that bindeth you to love and unity, and prefer not a stranger before thy own blood. If thy brother's in adversity, assist him. If thy sister's in trouble, forsake her not. So shall the fortunes of thy father contribute to the support of his whole race, and his care be continued to you all in your love to each other. Go in peace, Muslims. Moorish movement, divine movement, everlasting movement. Islamism without the schism. You and I tie. We love you, Moors. Islam, Moors, let's raise them bowls high, shoot them arrows of love out there in the ethers. with healing and saving power for our sister Anna Jean, Swenson Bay, Islam. Put some holy breath on them arrows of love. Islam. All right, Moors. And yeah, we want to give honors to all of our Moorish kin as well. Noble Brian L., Eric Darius, Gary Miles Bay, Latata Bay, J Bay, we give honors to you. A Bay, K7OL. We give honors to Ronnie DeWhite, Tarif Bay, Bernard Banks, all of you. See you soon and see you in the next cycle. Peace and love, Moors.